I got fined for shoveling my neighbor's walkway, and the woman who fined me later sued the homeowners association. She ran for the injuries she suffered on that same walkway. I'm not kidding. It's the kind of thing that sounds like a bad sitcom, except everyone involved had real medical bills and real anger. If you think HOA drama is boring, hang on, this one gets messy, and I promise you it's worth the minute by minute. It started on a cold February morning, the kind that makes your breath hang in the air like tiny ghosts. I was standing in my driveway at 5:30, shovel in hand, watching snow settle into perfect quiet, when I heard heels tapping behind me on the frozen pavement. The sound cut through the hush like a metronome, sharp, impatient. Patricia Henderson, our new HOA president, had just moved in months before and apparently decided she owned the place already. Must be performed by the designated HOA approved contractor. Only, she said, very pleased with herself. Individual homeowners are prohibited from performing snow removal on shared walkways. Her tone was clinical, like she was explaining why the sun rises. She told me I'd been warned $250 fine if she caught me again. There's a practical part of me that hears rules and thinks, okay, fine. But there's another part that has spent 3 winters making sure seniors could get to their cars and kids could make it to school without face planting into a snowbank. I looked at Mrs. Patterson next door, who uses a walker, and at the stretch of walkway I'd been clearing for years, and I felt furious. So I did the smart, cowardly thing. I put my shovel away, went inside, and trusted the rule would be enforced like it was meant to be by the contractor in a timely way. Within an hour, Derek from Unit 9 went down on the uncleared path, briefcase flung ankle twisting. Then texts started popping from neighbors near falls, angry messages, people late for work. I told everyone what happened and sent a screenshot of Patricia's PDF with the bylaw highlighted. People were mad, but Patricia had the paper trail, so legally she was right. I worked my shift in the ER that day. The irony wasn't lost on me. Snowstorms mean busy shifts. We saw 3 slip and fall injuries before noon. When I got home that evening, the contractor had cleared the walkway, but it was rushed and sloppy patches of packed snow left to refreeze into ice. Over the next weeks, the pattern repeated. Snow fell. Contractors came late or rushed the job, and Patricia doubled down. She even started taking pictures of the uncleared walkways and sent a community email praising professional snow removal and reminding everyone that volunteer clearing was not allowed. She framed it as liability protection. People framed it as cruel. Then came the storm that sent everything over the edge, a heavy, wet March snowfall that begged for early clearing and salt. I woke up, looked out at the deep drift, and made a choice. I told myself no, I'd follow the bylaws. But life has a way of making decisions for you. Janet, a single mom from Unit 5, knocked on my door, eyes red, begging. Her daughter Emma has asthma. The cold makes her cough. The walk was impassable. Please, Janet said, I'll pay the fine if she gives you one. I can't get Emma to school otherwise. You get it, that look people give when a small person depends on them. So I grabbed the shovel. 20 minutes later, the path was clear. I watched them drive away and thought maybe I'd get a scolding, maybe an email. Within the hour, I got something better, a violation notice in my inbox. Patricia had photographed me, time-stamped it, and sent an official warning with a $250 fine and a long paragraph about undermining HOA authority. She wanted to make an example out of me. That very evening, messages poured in from neighbors who'd had it. Some forwarded their exchanges with Patricia, all polite questions met with condescension and icy replies. People were furious but unsure what to do. I did what I always do when something bugs me. I read the rules all the way through. Hidden in Section 23, the sort of place you only dig if you're desperate, was a clause about removing board members for cause. 60% of homeowners had to sign a petition, then a special meeting, then a 2/3 vote to boot. It was a process, but it was a process we could use. I drafted an email explaining the petition and why Patricia's enforcement was dangerous, hit send, and braced myself. Replies came back faster than I expected. Within 2 hours, I had 10 enthusiastic yeses. By morning, 9 of 12 units had signed. Mrs. Patterson went door to door with her walker like a tiny armored foot soldier, and we filed the petition with the management company. The bylaw had teeth and we had the numbers. Then things got weird. Patricia fell on the ice. She slipped, walking to her car, phone went flying, arms windmilling, and hit hard. We all scrambled. Paramedics came. I did what I do, checked her pupils, kept her neck stabilized, talked to dispatch. She was conscious but dazed. As they loaded her into the ambulance, she said almost immediately, This is the contractor's fault. I'm gonna sue. You can't make this stuff up. Here's where the story twists. The contractor showed up on my doorstep 2 days later, folder in hand. Robert Chen, a straightforward, seasoned guy, had documentation. He'd warned Patricia that cutting early morning service and refusing ice treatment would make the walkways dangerous. She'd changed the contract to save money. She insisted on later arrivals and refused extra measures unless the temperatures met her exacting standards. Robert had emails, work orders, warnings, a paper trail pointing right at the choices Patricia made. He also told me something crucial. Patricia's lawyer was already trying to blame him for negligence. He wanted allies. He wanted someone to tell the truth about how the policy decisions constrained his work. I read his papers that night and felt cold down to the bone. The picture was ugly. Patricia hadn't just been strict, she'd been reckless with other people's safety to cut costs or prove a point. A couple of weeks later, we held the special meeting. Patricia skipped the room but handed in a long defensive statement. She framed herself as a martyr of bylaws, persecuted for enforcing the rules. The room was not having it. People stood up and told stories. Janet about Emma's asthma, Mr. Patterson about missing doctor appointments, Derek about slipping and twisting his ankle, Marcus, a lawyer from Unit 11, pulling up contract emails showing Patricia had trimmed the contractor's hours. The whole snow shoveling thing was suddenly the visible part of a much larger problem: leadership that prioritized rules and budgets over people. We voted. Every single hand went up to remove Patricia from her position. Unanimous. Effective immediately. The vice president stepped in, breathing like someone handed the keys to sanity. Our first order of business was sensible: allow residents to volunteer to clear walkways, keep a professional contractor for the heavy work and ice treatment, and recognize volunteers instead of threatening them with fines. Patricia filed a liability claim against the HOA. She'd been hurt after all, and that sent us into a maze of insurance investigations, which, as it turned out, did not go well for her. The claims adjuster told me privately that the insurance company found the decisions she'd made directly led to the hazard. Her claim was denied. Then, oddly, the whole thing snowballed in another direction. After her claim was denied, Patricia started posting negative reviews about Robert's company, accusing him of negligence. Robert lost contracts. He sued her for defamation. I was called in as a witness for Robert. Sitting in a downtown conference room, sworn in, I walked through the timeline. Patricia's contract edits the denied ice treatment the morning she fell the emails. Her lawyer tried to suggest I was biased because Patricia fined me. Sure, I told them, but this wasn't about a fine. It was about the record. It was about facts. I said what I'd seen. I had documentation. I answered honestly. The defamation case settled. Patricia agreed to pay damages, remove her posts, and issue corrections. She wound up putting her townhouse on the market and moving away. It sounds harsh, but after being removed unanimously and having her insurance claim denied, and then being found to have defamed someone trying to run a business, she had little left to stand on. The community breathed easier. What stayed with me was not that Patricia lost. It was what her tenure exposed and what followed. The act that sparked it all was small shoveling a path so a neighbor could get to school. But the battle that followed taught me how fragile community can be, how easily rules can be twisted into control, and how important it is for people to speak up when leadership starts serving itself instead of serving people. We rewrote the rules to encourage volunteers. We renegotiated the contractor's hours, and we built a real rhythm for snow days. Neighbors clearing early, contractor coming shortly after to salt and treat. It worked. The next winter I was out at 5:30 again, not alone this time. Derek at one end, Marcus at the other, Janet's daughter Emma with a little plastic shovel, Thomas the new president with a bag of ice melt. We finished before 7. The contractor pulled up, did his professional touch, and everyone went to work or school safe. Mrs. Patterson died a couple winters later peacefully at 85. We all went to her funeral. I spoke about the tiny warrior who'd gone door to door with her walker and changed the course of our community. Tiny acts matter. That's the lesson. Small kindnesses bundled with civic courage can reshape the place you live. If there's a moral here, and I'm not trying to be preachy, it's this: rules are tools, not gods. When rules are enforced without empathy, they become weapons. And when one person uses rules to control others, it's the community's job to ask whether the rules still serve us. Solidarity matters. Speaking up matters. Doing the small, sometimes risky thing to help a neighbor. Yes, even if it means you might get a fine, can be how a community remembers what it's for. So I'll leave you with this when you see someone hiding behind a rule instead of helping a person. What do? Let it go or stand up and say, "No, people first. Tell me what you think." And if you've ever had your own HOA horror story or a small act that changed things, share it. We could use the reminder that sometimes the right row to hoe is the one right outside your front door.